Hello and welcome to this video. In this video I'll explain how to create a group policy to deploy application software in our network. It corresponds to section 2 of our group policy lab. So the first thing is, before you're to deploy or create this group policy to assign applications to our users or to computers, we first have to create a network share that is available to all computers and users that will have access to do the installation of the software. So I do have on my server a folder that I've already shared, but just as a refresher, I'll just demonstrate how to create a share. So under my C drive, I have a folder called share, and in there I already have a folder called applications, which is shared in the network. So to create a new share, you can create this folder under other folders or directly under the C drive. It's just your preference. So I'll right click here and click on new folder, and I'll give this a name. I'll call it software. Just give it a name to identify the purpose of the folder. Now to share this folder, you right click here on the folder, go to properties, and just click on sharing, and you have two options. One is to click on share, one is the advanced sharing, but I like to go to the advanced sharing. So currently this folder is not shared, and it tells you this right here that is not shared. So I'll click on advanced sharing, and I'll enable sharing by just clicking this checkbox here. The name of the share that I want to use is just called I'm using the default, which is software. And in the permissions, you just click on the permissions, and everyone has read access, and that should be fine. But this lab, I'm not too worried about security, so I'll go ahead and just give everyone full control and just click apply and OK to that, and just close out of the window. Now to see if this share is available on your server, right in Explorer, just type here // and you can either use the name of the server, or you can just type localhost. Localhost is basically referencing the server that you're working on or the computer that you're working on. And I can see my share now. The share that is available, this is the one that I just created, which is called software. But this is not the one that I'll be using, because I've already configured a share that I have been using for my applications, and this is just called applications. It's located right under share, as you can see, and applications. And I have several installation files. Now bearing in mind that you cannot use executable file, the normal .exe file, to install applications when using a group policy. You must use the executable file. You must use an MSI file or a Microsoft installer file. That is the format you'll have to use. So I have a couple of applications here, the Firefox, Adobe. This is a zip program, a WinZip file, and those are the ones that I'll be using. So after creating this share, what you'll want to do is to copy your applications or the MSI installer files into this share. And what I'll also do, or what I like to do, is map a network drive onto this server to this share that I just created. Now to do that, if we go back to our local host, and these are the shares that are available. So to map a network drive, just simply right click on the share itself that you just created, and you click map network drive, and then you can select a drive letter. You can use any available drive letter, but I will not proceed with this drive mapping, because I'm already using a share that is mapped to application, and mine is mapped to S, but you can choose to map it to any available drive letter that you feel like. So the next thing that we'll do after creating our share and putting our copying our MSI installer file into that share, we'll go ahead and into our group policy, and we'll create a group policy similar to what we did in the first video for section 1, where we created the restricted policy. So I've already created a group policy to publish software. Now, to create a policy, if you remember from the previous video, you right click on the group policy objects and you click on new, and you'll just give the policy a name. So I've already done that. I've created a group policy called published software, and I'm going to go and access that published software, and I'll right click on it to edit. So here's where I'll go and add an application to get deployed, so that users will have the opportunity to, or the option to, install that software. So if you notice, you have the under computer configuration policies, you have a software settings, and there's a software installation option, and also under user configuration you have policies and another software settings where you can assign software under this software installation. Now, what is the difference between the two of them? Under the computer configuration, the software that you will be assigning under this software installation is applications that you want to get assigned to the computers, regardless of which user is logged on. So basically, the software gets deployed to a computer account, and the software will automatically install when the user click on the icon. So an icon is placed in the all programs group on the computer. The user clicks on the icon, and the application will get installed. Now, under the user configuration, this software installation, this is where you publish software. The difference between publishing and assigning a software is that with published application, the user will have to go into programs and features, and under network install they will see a list of applications that they can run or install on the computer. Now, because I'm not assigning the software, I'm actually publishing the software. I'll go to user configuration policies, software settings, and software installation, and I've already published a single application, which is Firefox. So I'll show you how to publish another application, and then we'll go and check our client machine to see if the software is available under network installs. So to add an application under the list of public applications, you right click and go to new, and then package. Now you'll have to select the network share that you have attached earlier in the video, and mine is just called software applications, and I've mapped it to drive S, and here's where I can find my application. So I can click on this 7Z and click on open, and here it asks me if I want to publish or assign it. So I'm going to click on the option to publish it. If I want to add another application, I do the same thing, new package, and I can go into, I can choose my Foxit Reader and choose the MSI installer file, click on open. I want to publish it, and just click on yes. So what happens is that the group policy actually checks the file to make sure that it is an MSI file, and it reaches certain criteria, and once it passes that, the background check, it will add the software in the policy. Now if you look at a brief description on this page, or just to explain to you these tabs, The name of the application, of course, it gives the name. Then it tells you the version of the software that will be installed. The deployment type is publish, and the source. The source is where the application is located, and this must be located on a network share. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the computer that you're creating the policy or on the domain controller. It can be located on any part of the network. I'm just using this server as the placeholder or the share to store the application, because I just want to keep it simple, and this is the only server I have on my network. Now, after adding the software packages in the software installation, I will go now to my group policy, which is publish software, and I'll just make sure that I go over the checks that under details that the group policy is enabled. By default, it is enabled. I can see my settings. If I click in settings, I can actually see that the applications that I have is listed here. So I have 7-Zip, Foxit Reader, and Mozilla Firefox. The scope of the software, it is assigned to authenticated users. So any user that is authenticated on the domain, the policy will apply to, and that's all good. I don't want to refine any of my security. I'll just leave it as the authenticated users. The next thing is that I have to assign that group policy to an organizational unit. So the previous organizational unit that I demonstrated in section 1 is the users OU, and the restricted access policy has already been applied, and that is exactly where I'll apply our new group policy, which is publish software. So I've already created this group policy prior, and I've already assigned it as well. So it's already assigned to this OU. So to assign any group policy to an organizational unit, you just right click on the organizational unit itself and click link an existing GPO, and then you select from the list of GPOs that you have here. Now the next part of this group policy is to go to our Windows client machine and log in. If you've already logged into the client machine, then you will need to either log off, restart the machine, or from the command prompt run the command gp update /force. So I've just logged into this machine, so you need to go to control panel. So just click and start. This is a Windows 7 machine. Click and start control panel, and you'll go to programs and features, and this is where you'll find all the programs that are installed on your machine, and also where you can find the programs that is the programs that are available from the network. So this option here, install a program from the network, if you click there, here we can see a list of our programs. So before I added the 2 programs, I only had one, which is Mozilla Firefox. So now I have Foxit Reader, and I have the 7-Zip or the zip program that we installed. So to install an application from the network location, you just click on the application and click install, or you just double click on it, and it brings up the installation wizard. You click on next, just accept the end user license agreement and click next. Click next and install. The application will now go through the installation, and once successful, shouldn't give you any errors. If you do get an error, maybe there's some issue with the package. So here the installation seemed to be successful. I click and finish. Now I can go to my programs, and I can see the icon for the program is here. So if I click on that, it should open up, and that's the program. To install our Foxit Reader, I just double click on it. It'll go through the same thing. Foxit Reader is a little bit of a heavier program to install, so it will take some more time. I'll pause this video and come right back as soon as it's done. So here is our installation for the Foxit Reader installer. The took about a couple of minutes to get installed. That looked like it went successfully, and I click and finish. It should launch the Foxit Reader, and here's our application. So I hope this video will help you and assist with completing section 2 of our group policy lab.